to speak on today?
I don't know. Um, I wasn't so sure. There was, I guess, there's not a systematic reading, so I when I teach at the Krishna House in here in Alachua area or Gainesville, we have a Krishna House. We call it. It's a preaching center, and we cater mostly to very young people and very new people coming to Krishna consciousness. And what I find is that they really like to hear Srimad Bhagavatam in an, uh, you could say, in a overview way. Of course, there's uh, great value to studying verse by verse in minute detail, but it's also good to not lose the presentation of Srimad Bhagavatam within those discussions, because the Srimad Bhagavatam is, uh, y- and what I wanted to focus on today is it's a gift. It is a gift from Krishna directly to us, and us meaning the residents of the world in Kali Yuga, specifically, because there was no need of books prior to Kali Yuga. But in Kali Yuga, we need books because we are very, um, you could say, dull, misguided, disturbed. These are some of the qualities of the people of Kali Yuga, of which I am certainly one of them. Um, and so we need a presentation to, you could say, inspire us, to pull us out of that consciousness, the Kali Yuga consciousness. So there's a, a few verses that are very beautiful toward the end of the Bhagavatam that state what is the purpose of Krishna's appearance and the presentation of Bhagavatam, and that's what I wanted to speak on today, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
Um,
Thank you.
okay,
I
thank
don't
you.
want to. I
So
don't want
I
to.
will only see names. I won't see people. I'm the only one on display, right?
Well, I am. I think everybody, if
Okay.
you can, just show the video. I tell them all the time, and I get about 3 people to do it.
Yeah, it's nice to make this connection, because again, this is the purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is a connection of people who have become lost, and uh, Krishna wants to connect to us in this way by giving the Bhagavatam. So we also can connect with each other, and I don't know anybody there except Pyari and Jiva. Um, it's been, I don't know, it's been 40 years now since I first walked into the Hartford Temple with a few of my friends, and it was Jiva and Pyari and Padmanabha, the late Padmanabha, and that was all. There was Russ, Bhakta Russ, and Gita. Is Gita still around?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, Haribo.
I've taken
And Pali
initiation now under
Purmata.
Niranjan Maharaj.
Oh, wonderful. Hare
Geetamala
Krishna.
now.
Jai, congratulations. I
Russ
remember
is down. Russ
Pali
is down.
Purmata.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Russ is down near you now. He lives in Florida, and
Okay.
he's gone to some programs by who?
What's the
Nalini.
astrologer's name? Nalini
Nalini
Kanta.
Kanta. He has some.
Okay.
He sometimes goes there, and Polly Perlmutter, she's 90. She's going to be 90,
Nine.
99 this month, and she doesn't
Wow.
live here. She lives in
Colorado.
Colorado. But we're in touch with her.
Wow.
We talk to her regularly, and she sounds great, but physically she's definitely not doing so good.
Uh,
99 years old.
yeah. So we all have this connections that are lasting, and But this one connection that we sometimes forget is our connection with Krishna. And so he doesn't like that. He because this was our choice to, you could say, uh, try to live without Krishna, to come to a place without Krishna. But he didn't like that. When Krishna expands, he expands into all living entities. We're all parts and parcels of Krishna. And it's not that Krishna like said, okay, I'm just going to make a lot of surplus people because, I know some of them won't stay around. And so he'll forget about them. But that none of us are surplus. We're all have a specific thing that Krishna has created us for his a specific enjoyment of his. So it's quite wonderful when we think of our existence to be like that. Was that a question? It's in a different
Prasad Prabhu,
language.
you're not on mute.
Has to be muted.
Oh, so that wasn't a question?
No, it's not a question. It's a parent trying to mind their
Oh.
children who are not so grown up yet.
Oh, okay.
It might be a question, but it's not for you.
Okay. So anyway, we're struggling, and Krishna sees that, and so he wants to give us something. So he says that's one of the reasons he comes, is to reestablish ways back to him. And so we've just passed through the appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu last week, and we observed that his coming and his purposes, and he comes in all forms and all kinds of expansions and empowered incarnations. And tomorrow we are also, there's another whole section of society will be celebrating the coming of another great soul to preach. So these are the purposes of Krishna's coming. But the way he does it is quite extraordinary. And this is explained just after the description, full description of Krishna's appearance in the 10th canto. Sukadev Goswami begins to speak on some other, you could say, topics specific on the words of Krishna, where he wants to speak about the Uddhava Gita. He wants to speak Krishna's words, because Bhagavad Gita is not found in Srimad Bhagavatam. It is found in Mahabharata. And but he wanted to speak on those truths. So to lead up to that, he first, he tells some stories of different things. But there's one verse there that really, you could say, sums up Krishna's appearance and why he comes, and why this Srimad Bhagavatam, what it's for and who it's for. And when we see that, it really, you could say, endears us to Krishna and endears us to the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is the first chapter of the 11th canto, and it's verses 6 and 7. Swamurtya lokalavanam nirmuktam lokanam ninam giribhistan smaratam chittam padaistan ikshitam kriya achidya kirtam shushlokam vityaya hyanjasanuka tamonyaya dharishyanti agat swam padam ishvaram. So this verse has a you could say a twin as well, and we'll get to that in a moment. But the twin verse is in the very last verses of the 9th canto. So you could say these two verses are bookends to the 10th canto. One we'll get to in a moment, and then this one. So this one describes three primary qualities of Krishna. And the first is Swamurtya. Swamurtya is Krishna's form. when Krishna appears, he appears in his self same, in his original form. And what is the quality of that form? Loka lavana. The beauty, the lavan, is unsurpassed in the loka, in any, and there is nothing in the material world equal to, or even could come close to that beauty, the lavanam of Krishna's murti, of Krishna's form. Therefore, because of that, nirmukta lochanam nirnam, it it steals away our attention. Krishna is so beautiful that because the eyes, the material, that we're always looking for something that is attractive, and we always become attractive when we see something, and our attention goes there. But Krishna is so beautiful that as soon as we see Krishna, nirmukta lokanamnana, we don't want to see anything else. So this was again, this is Krishna's intention. He comes in his self same form. He doesn't come in another form that is not beautiful. He always comes in these most attractive, most enchanting forms and charming forms, simply to attract us, because we are currently attracted to many material things, to the material world. Um, so he comes to break that. And he just by his swamurti, just by his form itself, he does it. He doesn't have to do like, create a whole government or something. He just does it. He's there and he's beautiful. And so we become attracted. So it's so nice. And then Giribis tas smaratam chittam. So the Giribis, the words of Krishna, if we simply smaranam, if we remember Krishna's words, they are very attractive. So we have experience of that when we hear Krishna speak in Bhagavad Gita. It's so important just to hear them. Sometimes we want to analyze everything very minutely, but we should have a portion in our studies where we just are hearing and just let it go in. Let's not analyze everything. Sometimes we want to analyze, well, what does this mean and what does that mean? Just hear them. And Krishna puts his he puts great energy into that hearing itself, and great potency, you could say. And there's that verse in the Bhagavad Gita, I think it's the first verse of the 7th chapter, where he says, Touch Srinu. Touch Srinu is just here. And Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, he specifies this word, Touch Srinu, that all you have to do is hear. Because just by the hearing, that potency of Krishna is fully there. So Giribistan Smartam, just by hearing. And in that purport, he then quotes those you could say those wonderful and Mahavakyas, or those great verses from the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, starting with Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana. Just the hearing itself, when those words of Krishna enter into our ears, somehow or other they start purifying the heart, and it's almost inconceivable to us how this is happening, but that's the potency he invests. So he has these two, so far he has these two things. Just his personal beauty takes our attention and brings it to him always, because he's so beautiful. And then when the words are full of potency, when they enter the ears, if we just touch Shinu, if we just hear them, they purify the heart. Then smaratam chitam padaistan ikshitam kriya. Then his wonderful activities, his padais, his when he walks around, whatever he does is amazing. And you've heard so many pastimes of Krishna, his birth pastimes, his childhood pastimes, his Mathura pastimes, his Dwarka pastimes, and then his many incarnations, all their different pastimes. So everything they do, Padaishtam Ikshitam Kriya, they are very attractive, and just by his kriya or activities, the physical activities of him. So then, so that Sukadev Goswami first establishes these three things as Krishna's attributes, and so when he comes, he's specifically displaying these attributes. But then this goes really wonderfully. Achidya kirtam shuslokam, because he knows that he is the most attractive, and knowing that he has attracted people just by coming in his form of Krishna, in his form as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his whatever form he comes, he knows that Chidyam, having attracted him in those glories, he certainly, these things certainly happen when he comes. So just by coming, he doesn't have to do everything, and so many things that we have to do if we want a following of people or something. We have to do something. We have an organization. Okay, we have to sing in the right pitch and the right key so it's attractive, or we have to look in a certain way. We have to kind of change our appearance to do that. But Krishna, he doesn't. He just comes and he does his things. And then agatsam padam ishvaram. This is very important, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur highlights this as, and Jiva Goswami as well, as that very special part of Krishna's intention. Agat means he attains, or he gets something himself. So you could say, well, what is Krishna coming for? But he's come for something. Svam padam. Swapadam means wherever he becomes satisfied, you could say. He it's a position of satisfaction that, okay, I've done what I should do. I got some padam ishvaram, and that ishvaram is Krishna, the Lord. So he becomes satisfied that just by my coming, just by my walking around and doing activities, just by my speaking, that is sufficient for everyone else. Now, who are those? So the translation in toward the end of that verse, in this way, Krishna very easily spread his glories, which are sung throughout the world by the most sublime and essential Vedic verses. Lord Krishna considered. So now we're getting a glimpse into what Krishna thinks. What is he thinking about? What is his consideration? Lord Krishna considered that simply by hearing and chanting those glories, conditioned souls born in the future would cross beyond the darkness of ignorance. Being satisfied with this arrangement, he left for his desired destination. So you could say this is like a disappearance of the disappearance pastime of Krishna. But why didn't he just stick around? Well, because he was satisfied. What I've done is sufficient. And it will, because he knows his potency is within all of those things that he's displayed. His form, his words, his pastimes, the potency is there. So he's very satisfied with that. And the conditioned souls in the future, who are they? I'm one. I'm in the future from the speaking of Bhagavatam. And specifically, it's us, those in the Kali Yuga, who we have no real shelter other than these things that Krishna has left. And I mentioned earlier that these are the bookends. So there's a very similar verse in the very last verses of the 9th canto, where Sukadev Goswami gives just a very short glimpse of Krishna to Maharaj Parikshit. And then that kind of springs Maharaj Parikshit wanting more. Okay, I want to hear about this Krishna. But this this verse, Kalo Janish Yamana Nam Dukkha Shoka Tamonudam Anugrahaya. Anugrahaya is just the mercy of Krishna. Bhaktanam Supunyam Vyatanod Yasha. To show causeless mercy to the devotees who would take birth in the future in this age of Kali. So again, these are words directly to us. They don't have to say, Madhava Das and P.R.A. Mohan and this person and that person, but everyone born in the age of Kali, who will take their birth in the future in the age of Kali, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna acted in such a way that simply by remembering him, one will be freed from all lamentation and unhappiness of material existence. And then Srila Prabhupada adds this within the verse. He adds this realization, or this, you could say, purport within the verse. In other words, he acted so that all future devotees, by accepting the instructions of Krishna consciousness stated in Bhagavad Gita, could be relieved from the pangs of material existence. So it's what this does, at least for me, when I kind of see this in this overview type of fashion of what this Bhagavatam really should mean to us, that this is a gift. The Srimad Bhagavatam is a personal gift of Krishna to us. And it's Lord Chaitanya, he'll many times or oftentimes will describe the Srimad Bhagavatam as the king of Shastras. And we also hear and know that of the five most potent forms of devotional service, the angas of devotional service, Srimad Bhagavatam is amongst them. So there's Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting Hare Krishna, living in a holy place, association with devotees. These five things are very, and the worship of the Lord, the Swamurti, the deity. These five things are considered the most potent, where he is fully invested his potencies to help us. So our studies of Srimad Bhagavatam should be very attentive, you could say, that wow. And if we just take Krishna's instructions on how to do it, touch Srinu, just here, then we almost can't help but get swept up in this becoming attracted to Krishna and his words. And so many times, I'm sure each and every one of you will remember a time where just by remembering something, smaranam, smaranam chittam, just within our mind, if we remember one thing, then we become so happy and so relieved of the pangs we may be going through. So that's what I wanted to speak on. Hopefully that was in the line of what you wanted a Bhagavatam class to be. But if we have some discussion, we could maybe talk some more about these things. Any questions or comments or realizations on this?
I'd like to just ask a question. You mentioned how Krishna is so attractive, and just by seeing him, hearing from him. So when we say, Krishna is all attractive, what does that mean?
Just that Krishna is all attractive. So Krishna's potencies, he has these six potencies that make him Krishna, you could say, or make him the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is, and one of those is the most beautiful person. So some people may say in a very, you could say, objectively or something. Well, I'm more attracted to somebody else right now. I'm more attractive to some glamour person or a superstar or something else, and Krishna is not, so attractive to me. So, first of all, what is, you know, the idea of seeing Krishna has to be understood. How do we see Krishna? So currently, we don't, as Prabhupada would say many times, we don't have the eyes to see Krishna right now. So we're uh, kind of handicapped in that sense that we can't personally, you could say, with these material eyes, get a glimpse of Krishna. So we're dependent upon hearing about Krishna and then uh, contemplating Krishna in that way. So, but when we do hear about Krishna, because there's it's a combination of things. So we're hearing about Krishna, but we're also we don't see Krishna with to be able to see Krishna in his utmost beauty. We can't see him with these material eyes that are, sometimes clouded, sometimes defective. They can't see very well anyway. And so when we hear about those attractive features of Krishna, we need to see them in a purified sense. So that is the process of devotional service. We're purifying our senses to be able to see Krishna. So, but the descriptions themselves of Krishna are very attractive. You can say how he stands and how his when you hear some of the detailed descriptions of Krishna's features, and I think there's a verse or two right after that one in the 9th canto that describes his beauty. Krishna's face is decorated with ornaments, such as earrings resembling sharks. His ears are beautiful, his cheeks brilliant, and his smiling attractive to everyone. Whoever sees Lord Krishna sees a festival. His face and body are fully satisfying for everyone to see. But the devotees are angry at the Creator for the disturbance caused by the momentary blinking of their eyes. So this is describing Krishna's beauty, and those who actually appreciate Krishna's beauty, that they cannot tolerate even a moment without seeing that beauty. And so they are the example, those devotees who just cannot tolerate even a moment of not being able to see Krishna. They are the example of those who have perfectly uh, attained the vision of Krishna. There's a description of the cowherd boys when they're out in the forest with Krishna. And when you're out in the forest, there are trees. And so if my arm was a tree and Krishna were to just walk behind the tree, that moment when that tree is in the front of their eyes, they become anxiety. Where's Krishna? And this description here of the devotees, the gopis, just by the blinking of our eyebrows, we're so used to blinking that we don't even notice when we're blinking, unless we really think about it. But they are considering that yugaitam nimishena, that blinking is like a yuga, like 8 years or more. That blink of the eye, and so we can just we can only imagine how beautiful Krishna is to those persons when they've appreciated Krishna's beauty to that extent. And I think, by our engaging in devotional service, we are finding Krishna more and more attractive as we purify. As Lord Chaitanya says, that our consciousness is polluted and it's like a mirror that is full of dust. And so we cannot see things properly. even though we hear the descriptions of Krishna, we may be still attracted to other things. So to the extent, and Prabhupada said in one place that our barometer would be that the less attraction we have to the material world, and the more attraction we have toward Krishna and devotional service, that will be our barometer for our advancement. So we have many descriptions of Krishna's beauty to become attracted to. And also within that, we have the manifest, you could say, forms of Krishna in his deity form to be attractive to. When we dress the deities, when we come before and take darshan of the deity, so beautiful. I remember in Boston when I was a young devotee, I had to go into, what was it? I think it was after I'd come back from India for the first time. I had typhoid. So I had to go to the hospital, and I was there for some time, and I had a picture of Radha Gopi Ballava, and it was like a picture with just tons of flowers all over. And I remember one of these nurses, she kept coming in and she kept looking at that picture, and you could see she was so attracted to, and she just said one time, "This is so beautiful. Where is he? Where is this Krishna?" And so I told her 72 Commonwealth Avenue. But uh, you could see that Krishna's form is very attractive. And to the extent of our attraction, that is how we're purifying. So the process will bring about attraction and more attraction to Krishna to the point where a blinking of the eye is intolerable. Is that okay?
Yes. Prabhupada had said something like, if people come and see the deity and are attracted how beautiful this is, they will become devotees. So he wants us to, decorate the altar nicely and take care of the deities nicely. Of course, he also said that when we dress the deities, it's Krishna that makes the dresses and the paraphernalia look beautiful. It's Krishna's beauty that makes them look beautiful, not that they make him look beautiful.
Yeah. The ornament of all ornaments. How about maybe some of our listeners, maybe you could say of these things that, either Krishna's form, Krishna's pastimes, or Krishna's words, what are those things that really attract you and really kind of keep you uh, uh, satisfied in your devotional service? Because we should sometimes take inventory of what is it that is really inspiring me to take this path seriously. And so what are these things? Some people are very attracted to deity worship. Some people just love to hear Krishna's words in Bhagavad Gita, or descriptions of his uh, kriya, of his activities in the Bhagavatam. So if anyone would like to share some of those things that are so attractive to you that you just can't keep it to yourself anymore.
Before that, can I ask a question, Prabhu? First of all, please accept my humble obeisances. Nice to have you in Connecticut again, even though virtually. This is Geetamala. So you say that Krishna is so attractive. He was personally present here during the Mahabharata war, in place of India. Why weren't everybody so attracted to him that they could not stop being attracted to him? Not everyone was, why was that?
Well, they, again, the actual personalities who were physically with Krishna in that time, some of them were there for purposes. Some of them were there for Leela, to enhance the Leela. But they certainly were attracted. And Bhishma says that anyone who got a glimpse of this Parthasarati, this Krishna, who and that quality of Krishna is so attractive that Krishna would take the the position of a servant to his devotees. That itself was attractive, and that was a form that Bhishma just could not get out of his head. He was so attracted. But everybody who saw Krishna on that field, they became liberated. And there are descriptions, either even within the Mahabharata, that they were attracted to Krishna by their eyes, but still they had their duties to perform, and they were the instruments of the Leela itself of reestablishing religious principles, reestablishing the devotees as um, the leaders of the society to govern in a particular way with Krishna in the center, as established at the Rajasuya sacrifice, that Krishna should be the center. Um, so the Leela, sometimes the Leela is entwined where those fighting with Krishna, you could say, well, why didn't they just stop and just pay obeisances that, oh, Krishna, you're so beautiful? But they appreciated it. And that's displayed in the Kaliya pastime. Krishna was, he saw that his friends and the cows were killed. He had to go do something. So he goes into Kaliya's territory, you could say, which ultimately was his territory, but he just starts splashing around. And Kaliya's first glimpse of, he was so angry. Kaliya was so angry, but when he saw him, he said, wow, he's so beautiful. So he did appreciate it. And that appreciation led to his um, uh, purification as well. So the mix of Leela and the mix of Krishna wanting a good fight sometimes here and there, uh, that wouldn't diminish their attraction to him. They were still attracted, and either they had to come to get purified of either some curse like Dantavakra and Shishupal, or they still had that attraction ultimately when they saw Krishna.
Thank you.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that was okay. And sorry about your discussion. Other folks can respond.
No. Everything is. I didn't follow any rules today. I was probably supposed to speak on a verse in a different way, but who knows?
I just want to add one quick thing before answering your question, Madhav Prabhu. Pyare Prabhu mentioned that the deities don't become beautiful because of the decorations, because of the paraphernalia or ornaments. It's the deities who make them look beautiful. It's very similar to what some of our acharyas say in the purport for Damodar Ashtakam prayer, Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajmanam. When Krishna is wearing those earrings which are swinging to and fro, it's not that the earrings make him look beautiful. The earrings are beautiful because Krishna has adorned them on his ears.
Yeah, Sanatana Goswami says they're shining. That they shine and they reflect off of Krishna's already most effulgent body, and so that combination is wonderful. So although that is true that Krishna is the ornament of all ornaments, it's not that we just put Krishna up there with no clothes and no ornaments, but the uh, what it is, because what is the real ornament? It's not like a piece of gold or a piece of you could nowadays, crystal or jewel, sometimes plastic. It's not that is beautifying Krishna, but what is beautifying Krishna is the devotee wanting to offer that to Krishna. That is beautifying, and Krishna loves to show that off. He loves to show how Mother Yasoda dressed him that day, or his devotees in the temple are dressing him. So, and Prabhupada would say the opulence of the deity worship is profuse flowers, So you could say, well, the flower on its own is not beautiful, but when it comes in contact with Krishna, it's more beautiful, but it's most beautiful when it is given in love and devotion. Bhaktya
Mhm.
aparitam, it is given in devotion. And it doesn't have to be patram pushpam palam toyam. It's just something, but when it's giving in that love, then it becomes glorious. It becomes perfect. And so, yeah, there could be a discussion of, well, is Krishna really the most beautiful, or is it the bhakti of the devotee dressing Krishna is more beautiful? That's a wonderful discussion. um, but the both of them are true.
True.
uh,
Yeah. I'll answer your question now.
okay,
What are
good.
some of the things that we are attracted to? So Krishna tells Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita that go declare it boldly, Khanthaya, that my devotee will never perish. So that statement I really like, and I also like when the pastimes where he has displayed that emotion. The scene of him jumping down from the chariot, carrying the chariot wheel, and running towards Bhishma Pitama because Arjun was not, fighting properly out of love for Bhishma. Um, that scene is very attractive. Narshing Dev coming out of the pillar to protect Prahlad Maharaj from Hiranyakashipu is very attractive. Um, Lord, putting down Bhumi Devi before getting on to the case of Hiranyaksha, like a gentleman.
Mm.
Let me take care of the lady first, and then I'll get on this person's case. Is it's very attractive. So those pastimes. From Mahabharat, Ramayana, and Bhagavatam, where the Lord displays that mood, is very attractive.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, that actually, when we look at again Bhagavatam as a presentation of Srila Vyasadeva,
Mhm,
this that particular pastime of Krishna as Parthasarathi, that is our
mhm,
first introduction, our first glimpse of who Krishna is in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And again, he is there protecting his devotee, and that is to again to attract the hearers that wow, this relationship is amazing. Um, so many times on the battle that Krishna protected Arjuna. There was that one what was that one pastime of with Bhagadat, and Bhagadat had a Vaishnava weapon that it was the weapon of Vishnu himself. It was given to him by his father Narakasura, and um, he threw it at Arjuna, and what Krishna just stood up because he was down on the lower platform of the chariot, but he stood up
mhm,
and it hit Krishna in the chest, and it turned into a flower garland because, of course, it's his weapon. And Arjuna said, Krishna, I could have stopped this weapon. I don't know what you're doing there, and you don't have to get out of line. He was even kind of chastised him a little bit. Don't get out of line. I'm the fighter. You're just a chariot driver. Let's keep our roles. But Krishna says, no, Arjuna, that this weapon is my weapon, and it was certainly would have destroyed you. But I
mhm,
could not tolerate
mhm,
living in a world without Arjuna, so I had to stand up and I had to stop. So those I really appreciate how those things that when Krishna does for
mhm,
his devotees, it's just it's really attractive. And
mhm,
you also mentioned the Shringadev, and in that discussion when Narada Muni is telling Yudhisthira about this care of Nrsingadev for Prahlad, uh, because it is Narada Muni telling the story to Yudhisthira. Um, he a number of times, I think 2 or 3 times within that whole seventh canto, he says, but remember, Yudhisthira, you too are also very dear to Krishna because Krishna has become your chariot driver. He's become your messenger. And he keeps like reminding him because he's thinking, well, Yudhisthira may be feeling sorry that, wow, Prahlad is so dear to Krishna and we're just, we're always just troublesome to Krishna. But no, he these little things that we can find are so inspiring, that Krishna cares about all of us. Again, from what we started with, that Krishna wouldn't have created all these living entities unless there was a purpose for each and every one, and he's waiting for that purpose to be fulfilled. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any more?
I have another question. You said Krishna created all these living entities. So I'm assuming there are unlimited living entities, but are there ever increasing living entities being created, or there is like an unlimited living entities already existing?
Yeah, Krishna's desires are always expanding. We because we think, oh, because when we look at that question, we try to think within the capacity of this skull and what can I actually conceive of. And I think, well, okay, I could probably write down maybe 1,000 good desires of Madhava Das right now, and maybe, you know, maybe 1,500 in a few more years or so, and and then I would check them off, and but I would think, I couldn't have 1,000,000 desires or 1,000,000,000 desires, or 1,000,000,000,000 desires. But Krishna is, because he does have that capacity. He is, he is, he. What is it? He pervades everything. Mayam tatamidam sarvam avyakta jagat avyakta murtina. He is within everything. He is ever expanding. He is, so his pleasure is ever expanding. And we get a glimpse in Chaitanya Charitamrita that, when Krishna becomes beautiful to a certain extent, then his devotees appreciate that beauty to another extent and they become beautiful. And then Krishna becomes a little more beautiful because he sees their beauty, and it just keeps going. So if that is true of those interactions, certainly his desires could always be true. So whether or not it happens, I don't have a scriptural reference to say, but who's to say it can't happen, because he is Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So it could be ever expanding, you're saying, yes.
Yes, unless somebody has a scriptural reference to say that it is otherwise. Anyone else have something that's so attractive about Krishna that's kept you at his feet and you want to share?
Prabhu, my name is Malati Priya Devidasi, and my encouragement to stay in Krishna consciousness, text 2.40 from Bhagavad Gita, Neha Vikramanaso Asti, Pratyavayo na Vidyate, Swalpam api asya dharmasya, Trayate Mahato Bhayat. Even a little advancement in this path can save one from a most dangerous type of fear, Krishna promises. And also, for me, that gives me encouragement to, not be discouraged, even if you cannot do much for Krishna, the little smallest thing that you do is going to protect you, So that promise from Krishna gives me a lot of faith to stay in Krishna consciousness. And also somewhere I read recently, like joining Krishna conscious movement is like joining a mafia. Once you come in, you cannot get out because of all the things that you know. So it is very, you just can't leave, once you know the things that you know. So your Krishna makes you stay. What's that?
Did Piari tell you that? He's Italian background.
That sounds like Piari doesn't it?
It's actually in a lecture by Gaurang Prabhu.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah, there's a pastime where a devotee goes into the ocean surfing after being in the temple for many years, and he's chased by a shark. He chants nursing prayer, and then he says, "Okay, Krishna, never again. I'm doing this again. Just get me back safely to the shore." And that's when he mentions this.
Yeah, and Vyasadeva also mentions this, that having once attained even a glimmer of happiness within Krishna consciousness, even if we go away, we cannot help but remember that and it will always bring us back. It'll always be, like you say, a little advancement, a little bit will always bring us back. But what, uh, apart from the promise of Krishna, because we hear these words and we have faith in the words, but what practical thing have you perhaps realized that yes, because of this I was able to do that? Is there anything like that that strengthens that statement of Krishna for you? Because sometimes we will hear the statements of Krishna and we accept them as truth, but when we actually see them live out in our life, um, then wow, we really and I'll remember I remember something from 38 years ago. Um, I was I kind of joined Krishna consciousness in a time where there were influences in society that um, people could hire people to take you away from Krishna consciousness. So I remember being very frightened on that because my parents had done that. And I had to basically run away from the New England area. And um, uh, uh, there was a long story involved here, but through Naranjana Swami and help from others, I ended up in Puerto Rico just to hide away. And I remember my very first time going into the temple and bowing down before the deities there, Krishna Balaram and Radhesham, and there was a Nrsinga deity, and I had, being a young devotee, I'd never seen a Nrsinga deity before, and I remember, wow, this is amazing. There's a Nrsinga deity here, and so I was bowing down, and I was saying, wow, Nrsingadev has protected me, because thinking about the things that had transpired in the last, it was just a week or so of one after another of these close calls of being captured, that you know there's no way. I mean, the faith that built then was very important to me. And so when we go through, especially, we kind of may hear Krishna's words a lot more when we go through a troubled time, because those are something that we take shelter of. When we really have a troubled time, and when we remember Krishna, we remember the words of Krishna, and we get through it. And a lot of time it's hindsight, but when we get through it, then that really is such a faith builder. And that is certainly one of them, that um, we have the faith that we're going to remain within Krishna's shelter because he promises it. My devotee is never vanquished. He's always protected. So it's nice when we can think of that. Any other shares or further comment, Mala Priya?
Yes, Prabhu, Hare Krishna. This is
Malati Priya?
Nandagopal.
Oh,
Uh,
yes.
so
Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
two things. One is a kirtan, which is really encouraging. So it started as a interest in the music. I still don't have a taste for chanting the names, but that is the one thing which always keeps me going. And the second thing is watching the live example, starting by Srila Prabhupada. I still cannot fathom that how someone at the age of 69 would even think to do that. So when I initially started in 2012 in Krishna consciousness and came across, that was the first time I had heard of Srila Prabhupada and his life story. So after I heard from a devotee named Pratap Putradas in Ahmedabad, first time, the whole life story, I just, in the temple room in Ahmedabad, I just cried that how can someone do that? It's not possible. So every time when I feel like giving up, somehow or other, the living example of devotees is something which helps me continue.
Mm,
And Kirtan.
thank you so much. Thank you. That's wonderful. I think we all probably can attest to that one. That when we see the life of I remember actually my first time to the temple in Hartford, Connecticut. P.R.A. Mohan sold me. I think it was just hot off the presses, the Planting the Seed book, and I remember reading it, bringing it to high school, and walking around the corridors in high school and carrying that book and um, reading it. And I was thinking, you know, and it was a faith builder for me that even though I don't understand a lot about Krishna consciousness, and there are a lot of things at that time that really blow your mind of universal creations and management, and these things are just so hard to conceive of. But somebody like Srila Prabhupada could not be fooled by something just made up. So that was like the very beginning that, okay, there's a lot of far out stuff that we're hearing here, people half man half lions, and there's stems coming out of abdomens, and there's things like this that I can't understand. But Srila Prabhupada, hearing a little bit about his life, and then a little further when we hear a great acharyas like Jiva Goswami, their intelligence and their philosophical understanding, are unparalleled. That there is no way that these persons could be bewildered like I am right now. And if they believe it, then okay, you know, let me keep going and let me try to understand this. So that's a great point. That's a real faith builder to see the example of others.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, this is Rasraj Das. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Prabhupada. So, my motivation is delicious prasadam available in ISKCON temples.
Oh, I can relate to that.
Always we get very, delicious, and it's prasadam, like it's Krishna's remnant, that's very important. So,
yeah. Piari introduced me as a cook. I haven't cooked in a temple in a long time, and I may cook a feast here and there. We have a annual Giriraj program at my house, and we invite 40 or 50 people, and but I lived in Boston. You could say in the heyday of prasadam. I think there was a thing going on in the 80s and 90s that, or not the 90s, that started to trickle off, but there used to be um, this thing called government donations to religious institutions. And in Boston, I was the head cook, and I was also the pujari for Radha Gopi Ballava for a number, good many years. And we used to get 40 cases of butter a month. And when you think about the amount, that's 36 pounds per case. And I wouldn't make buckets of ghee. I would make the barrels of ghee. I would make the 30-gallon barrels of ghee, and I would always have two of them full. But I still didn't have enough place to put the ghee. So I would bucket up the ghee, and then I would call over to New York, and I would say, hey, you guys, I'll trade you, 20 gallons of ghee if you can bring me, all these spices. And so I had this little trading thing going on with Janaka Prabhu at that time. And uh, the opulence of Boston's prasadam at that time, I think, was probably unparalleled in America. Just because of that connection of the ghee and the milk, the and I know the standards have kind of changed over the years, but the amount of sweets and offerings and things to the Radha Gopi Ballava was just amazing. And yeah, a lot of devotees and devotees I still know today, like they say, yeah, Madhav, it was your sweet rice, or it was the glubjamins or something that brought me. And I just really I just pray, oh, thank you, Radha Gopi Ballava, for engaging me in something that may have helped some others. But prasadam is certainly, you could say, it's our comfort food, or ultimate shelter. And certainly we may not be fully attracted to Krishna to see him, but when we talk about tasting, oh yeah, our attention can certainly be drawn to Krishna, and that's our springboard for other things, I think. So thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Yeah, I like to mention that in those days, everything was so opulent and rich. And in those days, we were young enough to digest it.
Yeah.
Like that
Yeah,
anymore.
of course we're suffering now from those days in another way, but
I'm the
now all I can say
beneficiary.
is Kitri, because
I'm the beneficiary of the excellent prasadam at the East Hartford temple. I think there was even a, saying that the best prasadam in all the temples was East Hartford. We had like 2 sabjis, 1 liquid sabji, salad, raita, pakoras, like sweet rice, and a drink, nectar every single Sunday,
2 sweets,
yeah.
Gita Mala Mataji. 2 sweets.
Right.
We have to
Yeah,
use
right.
sweets.
Probably dry sweet and halwa and sweet rice together
And
sometimes.
Anand Goranga Prabhu is prompting from the back. The days when Pyare Prabhu was not very worried about the floor, we would get nectar also.
See
No,
how happy
had
we
like
get when we see how happy we get when we talk about prasadam.
yeah. So we had like 8 or 9 preps every Sunday, and Jiva sometimes single-handedly cooked it.
Wow.
It was amazing. It was amazing. And I was the
Actually, I
beneficiary for
remember
many, many years.
before
He
I
did
was
it
a devotee, I
single-handedly for
remember
many
Jiva
years.
before I was joined, Jiva and Piari used to do some home programs at this person named Reggie's house in Willimantic, Connecticut. And I remember that my first experience of halava was just like, because I'm from the West, and obviously no such thing as halava exists here. And wow, that was like the thing, the halava. And I think she had baked. It was like it was the halava, then it was baked with some pecans on top with coconut. Oh, it was just amazing.
Yeah, there were several cakes too. Yes. And
Madhav
that-
Prabhu had
Your
one
mic seemed to be not working. You are coming across very softly.
Me?
Your mic seemed to be not working, Prabhuji.
No,
Oh.
it's working. It is a little soft, so I turned
It's a
up my
little-
speakers, but I hear them fine when my speakers are turned up.
Maybe his volume.
Is that better now?
Yeah,
Yes.
your volume was.
Is that
low.
better now? Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. Now that the class is over,
Now it's over. Okay. Now, of course, we're talking about prasadam. That's the important part anyway. So.
Madhav Prabhu, I was fortunate enough to read the banterous exchange between you and Pyare Prabhu. So I don't know if the opulence of humor you have is because you were originally like that, or because association with Pyare Prabhu it got rubbed off on you.
Yeah, it's the latter.
Ladder? Okay.
Piari is, certainly, I will say, very candidly that, I don't think I would have been as attracted to Krishna consciousness without Piari's being attractive to me. That his humor, his disarming nature of bringing young boy. Of course, I was 40 years ago, and we were just young boys in high school, and he would just make us feel like so welcome and disarmed, you could say, because of his humor and because of his just kindness to us, that it really kept us attracted. And I remember we because I joined with 5 friends. We're all in high school together, and we went to the Hartford Temple, but it happened to be the last day they were open for a little while, because Piari and Jiva were going to go and help manage the Providence Temple, Providence, Rhode Island. And so we had this break, our first day, our first time coming to the temple, and then they were going to be closed. And so I remember Piari gave us all this time that day, and he stayed up with us very late, past, normal program times. And I remember I had $8. I remember these very clearly. I had $8. And what I bought a Planting the Seed. I bought a Science of Self-Realization, the first Hare Krishna cookbook, a set of beads, and a bag of trail mix for $8. That was like highway robbery. So, but he gave them to us because he knew, oh, these boys are like fresh out of, they're just like, they just fell on in his lap that day, and he gave us so much attention. And then later we did find out about the Providence Temple, and it was quite a journey for us, but we would do it. And I remember Piari had this joking relationship with another friend of mine, Madhav Prabhu, and we didn't like Madhav at first because we would call him, we didn't know his name, we couldn't pronounce it, but we would say, yeah, that Piari's rival, we don't like him, because they would joke around and they were kind of, at the expense of each other. So that's his joking nature. But when we saw that, we were just so attached to Piari that we didn't like anybody else who was, put Piari down,
Well, I still have that same rasa with Casey Hunter. Just talked to him, I think, yesterday, and similar thing. But I didn't know that. I didn't realize that at the time.
Yeah, his first name to us was Piari's rival.
We would love to host you in person when the situation is conducive, Madhav Prabhu. When you travel to the Northeast, please come visit us in Connecticut.
Certainly, yeah. I know you have a new temple there. I've kind of seen pictures of it, and sometimes I will watch some of your live streams, and yeah, I would love to.
Yeah, you can do a program. Lead kirtan at our new temple.
Yeah.
And Madhav Prabhu, Piari has not changed one bit. He's exactly the same.
Good. Good. Every once in a while, I find a new verse on magic in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, and I send it to him, and to validate his little hobbies there.
That's his immunity shield, right? Going by the verse you shared earlier.
Huh?
That's his immunity shield.
Yes.
He's still Krishna's jester.
I was thinking when you mentioned what we're attracted, I was thinking of Krishna just being his personality, and he's really funny, and he does so many really funny things, and he's also like totally detached, somebody, with the gopis, he just in 1 second he just leaves if they get, if they start getting a little proud and something, and so he's totally detached, and he's just really humorous. He's got a wonderful sense of humor, Krishna. That's actually one of the things that attracts me to Krishna. But I would say why I actually stay in this movement is I've had so many. Mostly, it would be more Srila Prabhupada. I also had that same realization as you, that these people were they're so much smarter than me, and they are accepting this. So, I have to think there's nobody as smart as them, as great as them. So I would think I have to accept it too. I had that same realization.
Yeah.
But it's the different experiences that Krishna basically kind of shows you that he's God. And if I ever have any doubts, I kind of think of those things, and then my doubts go away, because they can't happen. There's no way these things could happen, unless Krishna did it. But anyway, it's very nice class. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming. Come again. especially
thank you.
when you can come in person.
Wonderful to meet all of you and reacquaint with some of you. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Madhav Prabhu. Thank you.
Jai.
Hare
Haribol.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Madhava ki.
Yeah.
Ooh. Pyare ki. Jai.
Ah,
Madhav Prabhu, can I interview you for a moment?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Nand-
Hare Krishna.
What's that?
Nand Gopal in our congregation is also a University of Florida graduate.
Oh,
He's
wonderful.
He's the one who mentioned
UCF.
the point about Srila Prabhupada.
Okay. When did you
Tira,
go to
Tira.
the University of Florida?
UCF, Prabhuji, the Central Florida. I graduated in
UCF,
2016.
Okay.
I graduated in
We're
2016.
reestablishing an Orlando temple. That's where I spent Gorpanim this last weekend, and
Yep.
I helped perform the Abhishek. And there's some very nice young boys and girls there that kind of graduates from our Gainesville Krishna House that are running it there. So it's starting to grow. Hopefully, we'll have a model program like Gainesville's Krishna House. So.
Okay.
I give a class there once a week on the Zoom as well, so it's very nice to see that growing. So UCF Knights, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Knights. Gators versus Knights.
Yes. Okay, is that it? Or do we?
Yes, Prabhu.
we
Thank
just-
you.
we just-
Thank you,
Okay,
Prabhuji.
thank you.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, thank you. Hare Krishna. What is your name?
My name is Tulsi.
Oh, Tulsi.
Tulsi. Oh, such a wonderful. Do you know the 8 names of Tulsi?
No.
I know, Prabhu.
One name I know.
But Tulsi is the name that she is so beautiful. She is so pleasing, you could say. It's very pleasing. And she has
Vrin-
7 other names.
Vrinda Devi,
Vrindavani.
Vrinda, Vishwa Pujita, Pushpasara, Nandini, Krishna Jeevani, Vishwa Pavani, Tulsi.
Vishwa
Yeah.
Pavani and Tulsi.
Okay. So now you know her names and you get to know her. And she's very merciful. She'll be very
I wanted
merciful.
to say one word. Vrinda Vrindavani Vishwa Pavani Vishwa Pujita Nandani Pushpasara Tulsi Krishna Jeevani.
Yeah. So you do know her 8 names.
She didn't quite understand the question, I think.
Okay.
That I answered the word portion. These are all the names of Vrinda Devi.
Jai.
Yeah, Madhava has a garden of Tulsi, very beautiful Tulsis. I saw pictures,
Yeah.
Wow.
right, Madhava?
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
built
I
a
have
house?
about 25 full-grown
Yeah.
Tulsis. And have a greenhouse that it did drop cool the last few days, so I had to bring her back in. But mostly she stays outside. And yeah, when you worship the deities, especially Govardhan Shila, it's required to have lots of Tulsi manjaris. So somehow or other, the 2 of them have grown together in our in our house.
Madhava also has a workshop that makes my workshop look really bad. He built it himself.
Wow, he's handy also, huh?
Yeah, he
What?
does a lot. He's a handyman.
Yeah, he's handy.
I haven't seen you. I can hear you, Jiva. Where are you?
I'm here.
She's right next to me, but
I'm
she
here.
doesn't.
Oh, there you are. Haribo.
Nancy.
Over here.
Hare Krishna.
Haribo.
He also sings wonderful bhajans. We have to have him sing some bhajans sometime.
Yes.
Oh. Yeah, over the years I've taught Saranagati as like a course at the Krishna House, over like 23 classes, and we go through the whole Saranagati. It's really that book, I would say, is one of the most you could say it's a handbook to our Krishna consciousness for the very beginning, but it's also our handbook for the very end. it's throughout our life we can really take shelter of that book, and when we remember Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appearing, that's what he's appeared for. Shikaya Saranagati, that he comes to teach us Saranagati. Prabhupada would say, sometimes about Lord Chaitanya that Krishna, when he came, he demanded surrender. But when Lord Chaitanya came, he didn't demand surrender, but just engaged us in the processes of surrender. And so that's that was his gift to us, the process of surrender, which is fully joyful and happy.
Is that the book by Bhakti Vinod Thakur you're speaking about?
Yes, Sharanagati he wrote that in 1896. He's written, of course, many books, but some of them were intentional songbooks. So 3 of those were intentional songbooks, and then 1 is a compilation. So Saranagati, Gitamala, and Kalyana Kalpachuru were intentional books of systematic explanations of Krishna consciousness grouped together. And then Gitavali is just a compilation of many songs and glorifications. So you can look those up. But Saranagati, I would say, is the most accessible for us. Gitamala is quite advanced. Gitavali is beautiful because all of the songs pretty much that we are accustomed to, the Gora Arti song and Jai Radha Madhava, these songs, have become part of our daily activities. And so they're there, but it's not like a systematic as some of the other books, whereas Saranagati is systematically teaching us Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana, and Gitamala, of course, is quite advanced. It's teaching us some higher levels of bhakti. But
Prabhuji, I have a third book you said.
I have a
Sorry.
I have a personal question. Did your parents finally get around to Krishna consciousness? What happened? They were against it, right? But did they come around and did they appreciate it afterwards?
They appreciated me, but never Krishna consciousness. And they both have passed on now. But yes, there was rectification after I became a householder and children, and they didn't want to not be part of that because of a difference. But it was always a strain. But it was, yes, it was rectified, and I was there for my mother's leaving, and I was able to chant with her and read to her as she was leaving. And my father was more abrupt in his passing, but I had, after my mother had left, then I did regularly visit my father again, and I think it was good for both of us, for all parties involved. But yes, it wasn't. Yeah, I have to remember that not to just say the horrifying part, but the good part as well.
What was the other book you mentioned? Gitamala, Charanagati, and Kali. What was the other book?
Kalyana Kalpachuru. That one was written actually quite earlier. I think that was 1882 or something. He wrote that. That was still when he was kind of searching. There was one of his biographies, but you could see even in his searching stage, such intent devotion. So in the Kalyana Kalpachuru, it's primarily descriptions of him praying to his mind. So they're very practical prayers in the beginning of that book, that for each thing that the mind could present to us as an obstacle, he has a specific prayer for, a specific song for. So it's very beautiful, very helpful. And then, of course, some of the songs that we also are accustomed to, the Gopinath songs, the 3 songs are from Kalyan Kapachru, as well as the Vibhavari Shesh song that we sing at the
2
Krishna
beautiful
Balama
songs.
Mandir. That is also from Kalyana Kalpatru.
Very nice. Thank you.
Okay. Everybody is sufficiently ready for prasadam?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Radhika is ready for prasadam. Okay. Well, thank you very much. It's such a pleasure to reacquaint with this group of devotees from my hometowns, my hometown area. And thank you very much for allowing me.
Well, thank you for coming, Madhava. Really appreciate your class, sharing with us and helping us to become Krishna conscious. Thank you.
Haribo.
Glories to
Glories to Prabhupada.
Panchakalpataru Vaishya Kripaksindhu Vairvacha
Vacha
Patitanam
Patitana Vanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Nakot Vaishnav Vrinda
His
ki
Grace
jai.
Madhava
Shrilam
Prabhu ki
Prabhupada ki
jai.
jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.